Good evening. Today is, April 10th.
You have the minutes?
Excuse me, I need everybody, we need to be quiet so I can start the meeting. Today is April 10th, 2024. This is the meeting of the Prince George's County Police Accountability Board. Call the meeting to order at 6:37 p.m. I'll go ahead and take a roll. If you are in person, just say present. If you are attending virtually, just say, present virtually. Vice Chair Sanchez?
Oh, President.
You want to say virtual?
I am here.
Mr. James?
Present virtually.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Bryant?
I'm here.
Mrs. Springs?
Present.
Thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Coleman?
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Present.
Mr. Melton?
Present.
Mr. O'Neill?
Present.
Mrs. Ridley?
Present.
And Mr. Vergamini.
Yo.
Thank you. We have quorum. Moving on to the next agenda item. If we have any guests that are logged in, if you'd like to say hello and state your name, and if you're associated with any organization, you can come off mute at this time. We'll give you a minute. Okay. Moving on to the next agenda item, we will look at the minutes. So we will go over each of the minutes individually. So we'll start with March 13th. Check this off. Everybody has that opportunity to resume. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Did we ever, whatever happened about the letter to Delegate Taylor? Did we ever get approval?
Yes.
Did we ever send it or whatever?
No, not yet. We'll talk about that, but if, is there something in the minutes that you see that you want to change about the letter?
No, I'm just asking, did we ever do it?
Right, okay. No, I know that, I'm just asking. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from March 13th?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made to approve the minutes from March 13th by Mrs. Ridley, seconded by Mrs. Springs. All in favor to approve the minutes from the meeting of March 13th, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining?
I abstain.
Thank you, sir.
I abstain.
Okay. Mr. Vergamini and Mr. Jones will be abstaining. Everyone else, the minutes approved from March 13th. Oh, next up is March 19th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from March 19th. Lafayette Melton, second.
Thank you, sir. Motion made by Vice Chair Sanchez, seconded by Mr. Melton. All in favor to approve the minutes from the meeting of March 19th, 2024, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining?
I abstain.
I abstain.
Mrs. Bryant?
You want to, Ms. Bryant?
Yes, Mrs. Bryant and Mr. Vergamini.
I'm abstaining as well.
Okay.
Jones.
That's an abstention for me as well.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. I need to look up more. My apologies. What happens when you put the glasses on, you don't see in front of you. We did. That was. So do I have two? Okay. Maybe I do have two. Okay, now the next up is March 20th. The meeting's for March 20th. Yep. Anybody would like to make a motion?
Surely, Frank wants to make it.
Yeah, I move that we, accept the minutes of March 20th.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Motion made by Mrs. Springs to accept the minutes from March 20th,
I'll second.
seconded by Vice Chair Sanchez. All in favor to accept the minutes of March 20th, 2024, say aye. Any, yes, ma'am. Okay. Any opposed?
I abstain as well for March 20th.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
Usually I ask for, opposed, then abstain. We've done this 20 million times.
I abstain.
So, any opposed? And abstaining will be, 4, okay, 5, okay.
Mr. James?
Mr. James, okay.
Jones, was Brian on there too?
Yes.
Mr. James, Mr. Jones,
Do they still, do the minutes still pass, though?
well, let's see.
I'll change my vote if it changes, if we need to
Oh,
pass.
how many, could I just see the show of hands? I'm sorry. One, yes, abstain, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, oh, yeah, that's 6.
Then I'll.
They're not opposing them.
Right.
Not a
I'll vote.
Right.
Oh, it doesn't matter?
Right.
Okay, all right.
Cause y'all
Still
weren't
have a
there.
majority.
Yeah, I just wasn't there.
Yeah.
Mrs. Bryant, Mr. Virginini, and Mr. Jones. Okay. Thank you. Got it, that's it. All right, next up on our agenda, our reports and updates. Mr. James, I'm glad to see you made it safe, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Good evening, all. Contained within the read ahead materials is a write-up from the meeting this past Friday that was held with the Greenbelt Police Department. As background, we had done some sample case analysis and review, and from that, we had some questions. Those questions were posed to the leadership at Greenbelt Police Department. I won't go through the entire letter. I'll just highlight a couple things there. And if you do have specific questions, certainly willing to entertain those. But we did look at their policy and procedures as it relates to window tint, measuring and usage of that and ensuring that that is documented during any traffic stops. Of note, I would say that there are 3 types of outcomes for window tint. That is a citation, a safety equipment repair order, or a warning. And in looking at the data from 2022, 97% of drivers received a warning, which means it's the lowest of those infractions. So I think that says a lot as well. And it's the least punitive of those. Important note, in meeting with the chief, deputy chief, and captain, they do have a EIS system in place, an early intervention system regarding their officers, and it appears to be working as intended. So there are flags that go to supervisors when there are complaints. There are also data reviews that they have built into their overall supervision, and then they take corrective action as necessary. So that appears to be working. Some of the things that I would highlight out of the meeting as recommendations was that they had a solid general order regarding their complaint procedures, and it does reference the Police Accountability Board, the ACC, AHB processes, and so that may be something for this board to look at and consider as a model policy for others to model. I would say monthly data reviews of complaints, processed cases, and disciplinary outcomes is something that the PAB may want to consider. Also, monthly sample case reviews to understand what may be some of the circumstances that are occurring. Certainly a community member, a community outreach plan, as even recommended by the chief, is something definitely for the Police Accountability Board. Consider looking at circumstances where a community member might appeal a decision. Right now, there's no built-in mechanism if a community member is not satisfied with the outcome. As an officer may not be satisfied with an outcome, there is an outlet to appeal that decision, but that doesn't exist for a community member. Is something for us to consider as well. But the complete details are contained within the memo provided, and certainly entertain any questions that the board may have.
question for context on my end. Did the chief reach out to us for a meeting or vice versa? Or like where did the origin of the meeting come from?
So the origin of the meeting was we reached out to him after we reviewed those cases that we got back in November. We looked at them in December. We had some discussion in January, February. We reached out to the chief to set up that meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. James?
Yeah, I just had one question, Mr. James. I think you were, pretty keen on seeing that this could lead to, investigations into other infractions by use of the window tint. It says in your letter, that the warnings don't necessarily carry a fee, a fine, or court appearance or mandated repair. But, is there a way to distinguish if some of these actually did lead to other investigations? And did those citations then supersede the initial traffic stop?
Yes, to answer your question, yes, there are the initial one that captures there in some of those instances that has to do with window tint, but there may be subsequent. So the way that it goes into the ticketing system that is used is housed with the Maryland State Police, it captures the initial purpose of that stop, and then if there are subsequent, it captures that as well. So you could go dig deeper into the data, but as we were looking to see what is this initial stop, is it leading to additional things? And like I said, in many instances, it led to just a warning, but there are instances where it could have led to something else.
Thank you.
That was it? Any more questions? All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. James. So I guess if we read that again, if we have any more questions, I guess we'll send an email to everybody, include Mr. James on that. Send it to him, just CC everybody else. Thank you. Next up is the legislative wrap-up. Ms. O'Guinny, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
As you know, the Maryland General Assembly wrapped up on Monday. And all of the bills, as you know, we've been tracking some bills, I've been reporting back to you throughout the session. And nothing that we're tracking actually passed. So it's a bit of I wouldn't say a letdown, but what I did was put together just a tracking list. I think if you go into the server, I have the bills in total where you can sort of read the assessment and everything. So this is actually just the tracking so that you have the bill number and see the sponsors and what the status was. There was a flurry of work at the end of March to try and get some bills passed, but ultimately they just weren't able to sort of overcome the time to actually get them done. So there are a couple that we might see next legislative session, but for this session, there's nothing that we have to do. We just sort of monitor the situation. So I did want to tell you all that.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Did it got stopped in the committee, or did they ever go to out of committee?
Some came out of committee and then went in gross, and then they voted on it in gross after the third reading, but then it never went further from there. Yeah, so.
I wanted to mention, this was one of the first sessions. There were probably about 3,000 bills.
There were
so many bills, but like 2 weeks before session, not one had passed.
Right.
And I think part of that was the budget deficit issue.
Oh, yeah.
And so there was some hesitancy, I think, in legislators because they're trying to figure out how they were going to balance, because the Constitution requires Maryland to balance.
Right.
So, but it was, I had never seen, and, you know, Carla was in there. I just don't think I've ever seen it wait that long before they actually pass bills, and I'm sure that these were kind of the victims of that as well.
Absolutely. I do want to mention that. And while I have your attention and a full house, I did want to talk about the fact that it's the end of the first quarter, and we need, to start working on the policy recommendations.
Mhm.
And I wanted to, maybe open up a discussion about the process of how, to do that, because people have come to me individually and said, oh, I think we can do this, and oh, I think we can do that. But what I would like to propose, if it's okay with the chair, is, for us to come up with maybe a date for a future meeting that we can actually focus on policy recommendations.
Okay.
And, then if everybody could sort of send me independently what their policy recommendations are, and I'll put it in a format that we'll send out to the group for everybody to look at it, and then come prepared to the meeting to sort of vote on it.
Okay.
So I didn't know whether that was something that was accessible to everybody and sort of what your thoughts were.
Yeah, for me, I think that, collectively coming together rather than to have individual input, will help the process, and then we won't be making, duplicate requests and things like that, and then at that, we can see the entire process and how it's going, playing itself out. I think that, I'm in favor of having it at a meeting and having a discussion about it, maybe like the first half of the meeting, so go ahead and take care of that. I know our next meeting date is April, and so we'll talk about it. Will be the 24th, so maybe we can look at the 24th, depending on what comes up on the agenda. We can spend the first half of the meeting. That's okay with you?
Whatever you like.
Okay. So easy, man.
Okay, that's all I got.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I know that it was on the original agenda that should have probably been new business, and we still need to list it. So going forward, we took it off because I didn't quite know what it was.
Oh, I see.
So we needed more specificity for the agenda, so
Okay.
it would have been appropriate for
For the
new
new business.
business and more specific. Now that you said it, I understand it, but
Okay.
the way it read, it was a little confusing.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ms.
Thank
O'Kenny.
you.
All right, thank you again. Next up was quarterly meetings with the police chiefs and scheduling. Nobody had talked about it, I guess, but it's been so much time, about that. I think we were trying to figure out if we wanted to, and anybody jump in, how we were going to structure the meetings, if we were going to try to reach out to certain members, yes, sir.
I think you skipped down to.
Oh, I did?
You skip all the way down.
Still in
Couldn't even have-
Wait a minute.
Administrative hearing board
drinking or
candidates.
Yeah, I think, oh.
We can hop around, I
This
just
is
wanted to
nice.
make sure you.
You know what, I drew an arrow, so,
Glasses.
I'm sorry. You know what, it's the microphone emitting. How come nobody said anything?
We did, I
was writing my notes.
Everybody don't have to say we did at the same time. Good gracious, okay. Legislative, administrative hearing board candidates, that's where I am? And I have a check there. That was a test though.
Yeah, all right.
We passed.
Yeah, administrative hearing board candidates. So, back on, I think, I forgot the date, but the, panel members that were available to meet at that, on those days to interview those, what was it, 8 candidates we had? 8?
Would that have been the 19th to 20th?
Yeah.
Was it the, okay.
Yeah, 1950.
So, first of all, it went very, very well. I really want to give kudos to the staff for making that process, flawless. I really want to thank you guys for doing that. That was the smoothest that interview process had ever gone. Mr. Melton led that interview process, so he was fantastic at it. So what we decided on those 8 candidates. Also, we talked about it, and Mr. Melton has agreed to the leader of the subcommittee with that, along with that, with Dr. Coleman, moving forward. We asked 6 questions, I believe, and I think each individual member, if we had any subsequent questions, we took the time to maybe ask that. We had some outstanding candidates, and it was a tough choice, but again, the process was so easy because of what the staff had prepared for us to reviewing the process of interviewing those candidates. It made the process so much more smooth, and it was flawless. So again, thank you to them. The deliberations were great. They were brief, and we really got down to it. So Mr. Melton did his thing, and it made it flawless because there was no confusion about, well, who are we going to choose, who we going to choose. We were choosing the all-star team, so it was great. It was great. So, I think we're doing very well. All of the candidates were able to make the training that is coming up very soon, so, we'll be ready to move forward with those candidates. Yes, ma'am.
Did we announce who they are?
We will get those names out. But we chose them, but we'll get those names out to the people.
So the people who were not there?
That's what we're gonna get. We're gonna get those names out to people that weren't there, yes. So, can anyone send that out to the board now? Is that possible?
Yeah, I can look for it, but I wanted to also piggyback on what you were saying.
Yes, ma'am.
One of the candidates, out of the 7, declined the offer, so it's only 6.
Yeah.
But there were 8 to
Right,
start with,
right.
and
Either
one
way.
was not selected.
Right,
And it worked out because we had 6 slots available for training.
right.
Only, so.
Although our person had gotten an extra one being allowed, yeah, we were gonna get 7.
Yeah. So it was great, again, and I think we should model that process moving forward, so that it won't be as confusing and time-consuming, because if everyone asked a question, getting through some of the answers, it would have taken longer than it did. Every candidate was on time, every candidate was nervous coming in, but, I will say that the board made each person feel relaxed. There was so much, the atmosphere was so relaxed that each candidate would say, "You guys are having a good time," because we would start joking and having a good time. So each candidate was thinking that, oh, the person before me, they really liked, but come to find out they were getting the same treatment. So it was really, really good. So thank you to those who could make it. I know that there were some things that everybody had on their schedule who were unable to make it. So again, thank you, and we'll get those names out to the people who were chosen.
Was there good, geographic distribution from?
Yes, yeah. One of the things we were looking at is diversity, and so these candidates fit that diversity piece. So no matter who we chose, we couldn't have gone wrong, to be quite honest. Yeah, yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Vice Chair, do you have anything to say on that?
No, I thought the process went well, and, we got good candidates, and I'm just happy we have a larger roster to pull from, because there are a lot of cases that are trying to come down.
Yeah, and then even, and we'll talk about it later, but there was even someone who was interested, that came to the community meeting, that we had a couple of weeks ago. And so, I think that the people are starting to become aware of it. Whatever we're doing as far as messaging is starting to work. Because, we got some really good candidates, so I was happy. So again, thank you, Mr. Melton, and everybody else.
Give him too much credit, man.
Yeah, I know. You know why I'm doing that. I got something else coming up for you. But, it was a team effort. It was very smooth, but it was, again, I have to say, the staff made it so smooth for us, so thank you again. Does anybody who was there have any questions? Anything to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate for the rest of the board, just some more context around it. Part of the reason, as you all know, we have prepared more questions for a more thorough interview. But just considering the time limitations, trying to make sure we get all the candidates done in a time that we all could make it. We already had challenges with getting other board members there to try to get these candidates in the training. We had to shorten and do an abbreviated interview. And so with that, we thought that it actually was a good amount of time to actually evaluate candidates, but we didn't think the questions were tailored enough for just 6. So I think one thing we are going to propose is that we go back and maybe think about a shortened interview, but reorient the questions so that we get exactly what we want to get out of it to evaluate the candidates with those 6 or 7 or whatever we land on.
Yeah, they were good questions, and we had some great answers. I'm telling you, it was really good. All right, let me make sure I'm going right along with the agenda, because I will get chewed out by the board. Okay, now we're on to old business. Case review and update. Vice Chair Sanchez, did you want to talk about that?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can just, I think obviously, we've got some things on the calendar coming up, but we wanna at least make sure that one meeting per month, we're doing case reviews to start catching up. I'll work with staff so they can send them out, depending on what the agenda looks like for the next meeting. We'll send something out to everyone, either with cases that you've been assigned to, and it'll be the same sort of thing. Everyone will get 3 cases, and we'll just go through as many as we can, or as long as we can.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I'm going back to quarterly meetings. For some reason, I feel like I talked about this already. Quarterly meetings with the police chief. I know we were talking about scheduling, and I can't recall if we were, the process, I think we left off where we were trying to, thank you for going through the minutes and figuring that out for me. But I think we were trying to figure out how we were going to structure it, if we were going to, how many, law enforcement agencies we would reach out to the chiefs and things like that. So, so, the meeting that happened with Mr. James that I was unable to attend, would we be able to use that as one of our meetings for quarterly meetings that we met with the chiefs? Is that one? Okay. So I think we should think about, how we want to structure it for the next meeting, again, with potentially more. And I think maybe we should structure that, and we can take any suggestions. Based off of the case review and the data and some of the things we see, we may want to call in a specific law enforcement agency to discuss something at that time, use that opportunity. Or we can just have an open meeting to invite certain chiefs at one time and then kind of look at the 28 law enforcement agencies that are within our purview and kind of schedule them out. Any suggestions?
If I might, I was going to suggest that, to me, it seems plausible that we could schedule something further out so that there's more advance notice that works for, you know, yourself and others. And we can kind of figure out how and what we want to, who we want to invite, you know, as we go along. But I thought that maybe, like, scheduling, it could be something that we didn't necessarily have to depend on.
Yes, sir.
So, we're into the second quarter now. So you're saying the James meeting would be for the last quarter? For the last quarter we just had. So you're saying we should plan something in the end of the second quarter, the end of June? Is that it?
Yeah.
So,
if you're using a calendar year.
So we're talking about something in May.
Before June, back in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think if we take a quarterly approach, I think we also have to consider that, like you said, we have 28, right, like, law enforcement agencies, so one meeting with 28, or like asking all of them to come to the same one, I think is a lot for us, right? That doesn't really give even every single one of them to get a chance to talk, so I think if we approach it quarterly, and granted we are already into the second quarter of the year, but even moving forward, right, if we do like around 7 municipalities a quarter, we have a good chance to take bite-sized pieces out of it, get everyone heard, right? And we can invite folks and leave it open if they can't make this one, or if they couldn't do something, we could still be flexible, but I think we try and target it to a smaller group every quarter, so that we can hear from everyone and be able to ask questions.
And then probably the demographics, you know, some from the south, some from the north, some from the, you know, middle. You know, I mean, like 222 in one or something like that, you know.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
I did, Mr. Chair, have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
And it came up before because some of the legislative requirements, are you all looking at quarterly starting in a fiscal year or calendar year?
I was thinking
Because
calendar.
Because one place is January 31st is when the due date, but your budgeting, if I'm right, it starts in July.
Correct.
Right. So which one?
But
so that when I'm making sure y'all are meeting.
But the annual report is due.
Right.
That's
at
what
the end of December. So when we do this, it's according to this.
Right.
You know.
So I would be in favor of choosing the calendar, because it's a little bit easier to keep up with. So we'll know we can plan it, and in that way, we'd have to think, because we would want to include some of that stuff in our annual report.
Right.
So we may want to move the last meeting up potentially. So that's something that we have to look at. We may even have to do 2 in 1 quarter, and I think that that's possible.
Yeah, and I think we also reserve the right at any given point, right, to, if we do have cases we're looking at and we see we do need to talk to one particular municipality, I think we also reserve the right to ask someone to just come by anyways, or to set up, ad hoc meetings as we need.
Okay, yeah, okay. Is everybody okay with that? Oh, yes, sir.
No, when we're talking about not having them, this is a separate meeting from the actual board meeting.
We can use the board meeting as well.
I was thinking,
So you want to have a separate meeting, or you want to?
because we have other stuff in the board to do, you know what I mean? So we're saying like we did the interviews,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we can do it for the day or the evening, I'm saying separate of our board meeting, so we can get other business done, you know what I mean?
Okay, so right now we're seeing, I think, if we can structure it like we did a community meeting, potentially. But depending on what's coming up and how our agenda's starting to look, we may be able to use that meeting or an additional day. So, I think the first thing to do is to come up with a date, and then we'll, choose which law enforcement agencies, and hopefully that won't become a long drawn-out process, since it's 28 and all of us, so, maybe Mr. Vice Chair and I think that for the first meeting, this is what I'm thinking, maybe we can pick the board members and wherever they are in the county, to have those chiefs come, in the first part, so like that. Like the first 7 board members, and then the next 4, those 4, and then some additional, police chiefs. So I think that would be the first, let's say, to start it off. That's cool. But we'll talk about it. I don't want to say an additional day, because we're moving into the time of the year where people are starting to have vacations and things like that, and children. And so we want to be respectful of everyone's time. And so it would be great, since we already have the board meeting date locked and loaded, I think we should really look at using that date to use that for our meeting with the chief.
So, one recommendation I have is, I'm glad you brought up the action plan, because I know in the action plan, we did so many objectives and milestones quarterly. I'm wondering if we can create a dashboard that says what's due each quarter, so we know what is due each quarter. Some stuff might be due at the end of the year, but the dashboard will visually show us what we need to be accomplishing each quarter.
Like process mapping almost. Okay.
Another recommendation is that perhaps we try to use that information to create the subcommittees that'll just be standing, so that if we do have a meeting that we can't get to stuff, like stuff is still getting worked on.
Okay.
So that we meet our deadlines.
Okay. So we have a fantastic staff. I'm sure they can make that happen. I'm telling you, I'm sure they can make that dashboard happen. Okay. Thank you. No. You didn't volunteer to do that, did you?
I will.
Oh,
But
there it is. So, see, that's why I was telling you, you did a great job with that. Okay, thank you, yeah, okay. All right, cool. Put his name big, Mr. Melton. Okay, thank you.
So you wanna pick a day in May then?
Okay, we can do that. Let's see.
I would agree, it's probably best to do it, because the one thing that we did see for the interviews, having them on non-meeting days, we had less people there, and I think it's a benefit to have as many members of the board being available to be there for the meeting with the chiefs. So that's the only drawback of doing it on a non-board day, is we barely just got to 6 people on those interview days.
Yeah, but we count the meeting where we had one there for the last quarter. So what I'm saying is,
Sure,
if we have a non-day, we put out the date, people can make it, the board members can make it, If it's 3 board members, we just have to do, those board members have to do a report on what those chiefs said, like Mr. James did, you know what I mean?
So, right, but I think it's more reasonable that people who have the date already planned within their schedule with all of us, I think it's more unreasonable and respectful to do it on the days that we have. So if we can look at the meeting dates in May and go with that, I know the 15th, I think that's some,
It's the 8th, I think, it's
right. Oh, why did I May 1st?
Yeah, the
22nd.
Oh, it's the 2nd, okay, boom. So 8th or the 22nd.
But they might need a little time.
Oh, the, chief?
Yeah, you think to be able to read. Well, it's only April. Right?
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it is, I mean, it is like, what, 6 weeks?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
If we do the 22nd,
4 or 5, yeah.
I think the 22nd will probably give us time to get a lot of stuff off the agenda too.
Yeah, and then if the law enforcement agency can't make it, it gives us an opportunity to move one to another chief potentially. Okay, so we said, what day again?
Next
May 22nd, all right.
So is our goal to try and intentionally keep that agenda light for that meeting?
Yes.
So that we don't miss it?
Yes.
Or, like, you, actually, no, you addressed that, actually. Fair enough, we're good, we're good.
Are y'all asking specific people? I'm just in my notes.
You mean what specific chiefs? So that's the next thing that we'll pick up. I mean, we can go according to last name and just go there. I'll put myself at the bottom. We can do it that way. First, who wants to go first? Ask their chief. Not go ask the chief, but who wants us to send the invitation to the chiefs in there. Okay. Bowie? Hyattsville?
You said which one?
Bowie? Hyattsville?
He just saying.
Living up in Marlboro, but I don't live in the city, you know,
Upper Marlboro?
Yeah.
Okay.
but it's not the city of Upper Marlboro, you know what I mean?
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah, but do we have a chief? The town does, but I don't think that, you know.
You would just have a district commander.
Yeah.
Oh, scratch that.
Do you want to go by councilman district?
Perhaps that'd be a better way to do it.
Okay.
I did like Mr. O'Neill's recommendation on like north, central, and south each time. We invite a few from each region. So if we got Hyattsville, what's that, north? Consider north?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
We already did Greenbelt's out, right? We did them. Or
Okay.
would we wanna include them in the pool?
We've done Greenbelt.
And I think Greenbelt was even at that first one that we had too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Bowie's counted central?
So, I
Yeah.
think what Ms. Allen said, I think we should just go with that then, make it a lot simpler.
What's that?
She said to just go with the legislative district.
No. Councilmatic district?
I'm sorry.
Well,
That-
see, over
that would
in
be
Pinellas, we
easier
only
to-
got 2.
No, in Georges County?
I'm talking about, in my district, you got Morningside and Forest Heights. Where else? Think about it.
But everybody gonna get a
Yeah, I'm
invite
saying,
at
yeah,
some
right,
point,
right.
so it's just a matter of who, when.
This is not a difficult process, everyone, so we're just gonna go with what, Ms. Allen suggested and move, and go with that moving forward.
Nah, you don't have
We'll
nothing.
go with that as the first 7. Everybody okay with that? Okay, cool, thank you. Thank you, Ms.
So
Allen.
who's gonna pick the departments from those councilmanic districts?
I would draft it.
My pen went that way.
Oh.
Yeah, pen went that way.
I could draft a list, like see if we all like it.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
You and me,
By
let's do
councilman,
that.
okay.
But we have it here, right? So are we saying going from here now?
Those are the police districts.
So we're not using it.
Yeah, we're using the council.
Oh, okay, right, okay.
So that's Carlo and
Mr.
David.
Jones. Told you, man, that pen pointed, see that?
What's the
I
turnaround
felt
time
it.
for that?
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to be clear, so the meeting with the chiefs will be on the 22nd of May?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
What is it?
Yes, ma'am.
We'll have a list.
6:30. Yes.
Yeah, honestly, we can probably get something out so that staff can send the invitations out to them. Are you empowering us, okay, here's the question, are you empowering us to pick them and whatever we pick from those districts we're good with?
Yeah, 'cause we've seen how he's trying to figure this piece out, right? It takes so long.
Okay, so we'll draft the list, and if we're both comfortable from the districts, and we'll give it to staff, and staff can send out the invite. But we'll tell everyone, we'll send something out to everyone,
Right.
so they know which ones we're inviting, If someone can't make it, then just come back to us, and we can just pick another one from that district.
Perfect.
Sounds great, I'm just saying timeline, so
Oh.
we're saying 6 weeks is when it's going to be held.
Right.
I'm just saying timeline, so staff would know.
To get it out.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, in a week, but next Wednesday, we'll have a list to staff so they can send out the invites.
You know Mrs. Springs will hold us to that too. She does not play with
Yeah.
us.
Now, I'm just saying, we're
I'm gonna put a reminder on my calendar.
Yeah, we need to make sure we're giving them the time, we're saying we're
Right,
giving
to
them.
respond. Yes, ma'am. You're right. Okay. Thank you. All right, let me make sure I don't miss anything on my okay, next up is the, right, AHB vetting questions. Okay, we kind of talked about that, a little earlier. And again, Mr. Melton and Dr. Coleman, we're gonna, they're the subcommittee who will, decide the questions, and moving forward. I think the process was great with 6, and I wish more members could have participated to see how that flow went. It was really easy, and I was thinking maybe those questions that are chosen by the subcommittee, at the interview, we can ask one question each, that is not too long, of the candidate, but it would have to be the same question to each candidate. And it went good as far as time-wise. So if everybody's okay with that, we'll use that process moving forward.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
These here
Oh,
were supposed to be.
the questions, yes.
for
Oh, that's right,
So
right,
are
right.
you gonna, you have to demand,
How come you guys are just not saying Kelvin? Sure.
So what is we doing with this?
Are we going back to the drawing board or?
No.
It's just,
Modification,
Yeah.
is what, that's
Yeah.
right, is that the
Yeah.
correct term,
Yeah.
word?
and it's weird, 'cause it's like, if you were there, you would kind of have
Yeah.
thought how it was, like, how people were
Yeah.
answering.
Yeah.
And we were really being able to, like, sort of get the feedback that, okay, we gotta just tweak this a little.
Yes,
But we're
yeah.
not going.
Modulating them a little bit. I had a nice question that I had to wordsmith a little bit.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
I was in Cleveland, so I enjoyed snowing.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 20 degrees and snowing.
One of the things, so we have to approve these, but one of the things that was good was having the in-person meeting, the applicants in person. It made all the difference in the world. So,
I also wanted to mention that we actually had like a rubric to score, like based on our notes, which
yeah.
That's bad.
staff did that.
Yeah. All right, so, looking at these questions, do we want to, oh, go ahead, yes, ma'am? Oh. So, are we're going to vote on to, accept these questions? Yes, ma'am?
So are we doing a modification? Are we gonna do these questions as they are, and then modify these for the subcommittee if we approve them? Or are we saying we're going back?
No, we're going, like you said, modify, right?
I'll keep these in mind.
Yes,
The only issue
yes,
is,
ma'am.
I think that some of the questions, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if it was, some of the questions I didn't see. Did we?
Right.
They're not on here, you saying?
So that's what I think I'm also kind of a little
Yeah.
trying to reconcile.
So,
If we are gonna modify, and then we actually had to modify for the previous process, I don't know what approving these is gonna do today or going forward.
You got a hand up too.
Oh, yes, sir, James, thank you, Mr. O'Neill.
Thank you, appreciate it. I think Mr. Melton's made the statement that I was thinking. I was just trying to understand that, as well as the document contains more than just questions. So I just wanted to make sure I knew what exactly we were approving. But it sounds like there's a goal to modify based on the previous experience. So I don't know if approving this is a moot point at this point.
Yeah, that's what Mr. Melton just said too, yeah.
so this is my suggestion to
Yes,
the
ma'am.
board, is that we already have the people taking lead on it. If we could postpone this, have the questions that we had, if staff could give a copy to, Dr. Coleman and Mr. Melton, compare those questions and work from there, and then come back and then we revisit.
For the next meeting, to vote on it then, okay.
That's just my
Telling you,
feeling.
boy, the closer you sit to me, the better your suggestions. I'm telling you, that's
I'll
good
move
stuff.
over there.
Yeah. No.
No.
Okay, yeah, so we'll go with that. Is that fine, Mr. Melton?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, cool.
I have a question though about the process. And I don't know if we set to discuss that. It's on page 3,
What'd you say now?
On
on the.
the last page?
On the
Okay.
last page, it says the removal process.
Okay,
So, it doesn't state what the process actually is. It just says that we reserve the right to remove someone. Do they get a notice that they're being considered for removal? Do they get a warning? Do they get?
well, I don't think we voted on any of those things. yet.
Right, but I'm just saying, as a draft, perhaps we should consider, some of those questions. Do we have to have a majority vote? I'm just saying the process is not quite, needs a little bit more refinement, I think.
So do you have a suggestion?
What I just said. That we include, that the person have some kind of due process, that they get a notice saying.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Those kinds of things is what I'm asking.
Yeah, I don't think that we would just say, no, we don't need you.
I know,
think,
but-
right.
But it's not in there, so if it's not in writing, it what? Doesn't exist. So.
Okay, so we'll put in writing the process
Yeah.
that will include, how we will contact the, member that is being removed.
It's more than that. It's like, okay, do we contact them? And do we list the reasons why we consider their removal? Do they have the opportunity to present their side of it?
No. I don't think we should take that opportunity to hear their side. If we vote as a board that for whatever reason, that the evidence is presented before the board, and we vote to remove them, I think that we reserve that right to remove them. Unless
So you're
somebody else.
deciding that unilaterally? Is that what you're saying?
This is what I'm suggesting.
Well, maybe we can put that, like, maybe we can map that process, and we can add that in there, like, if we make the decision and we can at least notify them,
Yeah.
right? Like, if the board makes the decision,
Mhm.
and we can notify them, that we're reserving the right to remove them, and we can include why we are reserving the right to
All right,
remove them.
and
Yeah,
also
that's
that,
a good idea.
does it take a majority, a simple majority?
Yeah,
Okay.
like, well, it would be, I guess, if we voted, it would be just like if we voted, like how we vote on everything, but I mean, we can put it in here, because I
Yeah.
get from a legal standpoint, yeah.
Ms. Spring?
Just say it one more time, reserve, we're gonna say what? Just one more time, listen, say it one more time,
We
please.
reserve the right to remove.
I'm just saying, are we telling them why, or are you saying that we would let them know that we reserve the right to remove?
We will tell them why.
Yeah.
I don't,
You don't agree with
I don't know if I
that?
necessarily agree with that. That can cause a whole other can of, that can open up a whole other box, like Pandora's box. Like, I don't necessarily know if we wanna do that, but backing it up, I'm a little confused. Are we talking about the draft now, or are we gonna approve, like, are we talking about this now? Because if not, my suggestion would be that we send it out, and that was a good suggestion that Ms. Bryan had, that if everybody looks now for that particular process, and send that out, and then we can come back and we can do everything, bring it, send it to everybody. And then when we come back, we can review everything in totality, because I don't think we want to piecemeal it.
And the same thing goes for the questions, right?
That would be, I don't know about that, because it's subcommittee for.
So, so we
so
conflating two
subcommittee.
things. Are we sticking to what we talking about now with the removal? Can we stick to that right now? And so, what Dr. Coleman suggested and Mrs. Spring suggested, I think we can review the document. If there's anything else that we want to add to it, we'll go ahead and, do that, come back and vote on it at the next meeting.
So please
Question?
send your,
Yeah.
please don't wait till the meeting.
Don't wait till the meeting.
Oh, yes, sir.
So, just fodder for thought for the discussion, in some places, organizations, or positions, it simply takes a vote of no confidence, or it takes an opinion of no confidence by the overseeing body or supervisor or individual. They simply say, they don't have to say why, they don't have to explain it.
On the cause.
It's just the person that has the authority to remove that person can essentially say, I've lost confidence in this individual. We see that in like presidential appointments and stuff like that. They say, I've simply lost confidence, and person's involved.
Okay.
So that's a possible process, and then the person is simply notified.
And I did want to say, we
You've been
do know.
removed from the position, or you've been, the board has voted, or the board has determined a vote of no confidence. You're removed from this position.
Okay.
It doesn't require all that explanation. It doesn't get into an HR issue afterwards, or appeals, or any of that, and the body has the authority to do that in these cases. So I just throw that up on the table for consideration.
And I was gonna say, it's consistent with Maryland, which is an at-will state, where you do not have to say why, you can say you're gone.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I think to Ms. Spring's point, and this body, because there's no legislative mandate, can create the policy that will dictate. So-
Yeah, I was simply saying we need to know what the.
No, I was just talking about giving them a chance.
Okay,
Speak.
Okay. Good input, thank you, Mr. Bergamini. Seems like the further you sit away from me, the better your ideas become. All right, thank you. So we'll have that, hold on, let's all right, thank you again, thank you, Ms. Spring. That was it, anybody have any other questions on that? Thank you. Next up, under new business is AHB term. I know it's,
I didn't do anything.
Attorney Camp, you have the floor.
We're just, putting it on your radar for the next meeting. There are no legislative terms for the AHB, and so if this body wants to create terms, we would like to be able to discuss that at the next. There are some, I think, other jurisdictions who have created 2-year terms as opposed to the 4-year, or whatever this body thinks best. If you would think about it and make a recommendation at the next meeting.
Okay. Next up, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Melton.
So I think Danny, kind of made me think of this, which is a lot of us signed up with terms, and some were 2 years, I believe, and this is year 2. So I don't know if at some point we are responsible for new members rotating on, because some people have 3-year terms, so that there isn't a full flip. I don't know if that's our responsibility or if that goes to the county executive to address how that,
Yep.
For the
Their
AHB,
point.
Yeah.
No, for the PAV.
So then, would they initiate the application process?
by the council though.
Yep,
If they're gonna reappoint.
yeah,
No, if they're gonna fill a vacancy.
right.
They won't.
So do I have a say in whether or not I reapply, or if I want my name reconsidered?
Yeah, I'm sure.
How does that process work?
So I guess,
My term's up.
I don't know how that process works. Hold on, can we please
I
stay
thought we
on
talking about the
task?
AHB though.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
If this is something we need to discuss at another meeting, let's do that, but if I'm going to address it, I need everybody's attention, we won't have to repeat it. I don't want to talk about the process, because I don't know it, but I'm sure you have an opportunity to write a letter of interest to be reappointed, at that point. I don't see why not. I don't, so, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
In reference to you, I was told that you will be reappointed, so. Yeah, I guess if
Oh,
you won,
hold on,
then,
first of all,
yeah.
let's have these conversations with Mr. Jones independently, so, right. Thank you. She's the keeper of the records, I'm telling you. Okay, thank you. Where was I? Because I don't want y'all to jump on me again. Community and external outreach. Okay, so we want to talk a little bit about the March 27th community outreach event that we had. I think it was good. Tweaked it just a little bit. My presentation didn't go as well. Thank you again, Mr. Melton, for being the technical person. He was up there fixing everything. But I really think that it was good. We had some great questions. Truly engagement from the community. They were very pleasant. They asked questions. They were very concerned. And most importantly, they're passionate about making sure the right thing happens. Right? So I let them know that we are an extension of them, that we represent them, that we're not biased on one side or the other, that our job is to apply the training and, all of the knowledge that we have and make sure that we apply it to make sure that we improve the quality of life for everybody in Prince George's County. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I was, I guess, a little confused that, we had voted on the presentation that would be used, and Mr. Sanchez and I had worked on the final product, because with the committee was,
Mr. Sanchez was unable to make it?
no, I'm saying the presentation
Mm-hmm.
that was presented at the
Mhm.
previous board meeting,
Mm-hmm.
that we voted upon
That would be, right,
to use at that event,
okay.
was not, you only had 2 slides. There were only 2 slides, and some of the questions that should have been answered perhaps weren't included. And so I was just kind of confused as to what the...
So, what happened is, I didn't have the slides. Mr. Sanchez, wasn't available. You want to say something?
I don't want to say anything.
Okay, all right. So, I decided, I had the slides and I just presented them. So, if there's a problem with me presenting those slides, let me know that.
Well, I just asked the question because we voted on the...
Right, but I'm asking the question, if there was a problem with me showing those slides, let me know that.
But everybody should have had the slides, because they were sent out.
Because I sent them several times.
They were sent out to everybody.
So I really don't think it's appropriate that unilaterally you just change things.
So let me just state this for the record. As the chair, I know that there's some things that happen, but on the fly, again, if it's a problem, let me know. Because my position as the chair is not to just, I'm to represent. I thought that the slides that I shown were good. I didn't say I don't want to show you slides. I didn't say that. Mr. Sanchez wasn't available. I wasn't prepared to present. Luckily, I had talked to the staff. I brought another presentation that I had, and so I showed that one.
I guess, and I'm not going to belabor this. I'm just saying what you just said is that you have the right to change things that the board has voted on without any kind of consultation.
I didn't say that, and so at this point,
and that's all I got to say.
My statement, please, hold on, my statement stands. If you want to have the conversation about it at a later date and time, we can. But one of the things that I want to say about this board is this, is that I think we get too drawn into the weeds about stuff. Anybody that knows me knows that I represent this board. I'm one of the easiest people to get along with. I'm trying to take no glory. It's not about me. I've told the staff and I've told the board that this is not about me, that this is about us. And so something as simple as showing a slideshow to a group of people shouldn't be a big deal. It shouldn't be a big deal. It's not like we're not going to have other opportunities to show slides. It's slides. This is one of the issues that we have with this board that gets into the weeds of things and we can't move forward. It's not my show. It's not about me. I never walk around trying to yield my authority as the chair. But I do have some rights to do some things as the chair. And I will do that. So again, if there was a problem, send me an email. We'll talk about it.
I think I did, actually.
Okay.
Marvin, do you
Yes.
have a question?
Oh, no, I didn't have a question. I just wanted to also say at the, meeting, what I was particularly pleased about, we had met several of those coalition members in, was it Chicago? And had wanted so much to meet with this board. And I cannot tell you how many of them, after it was over, just said thank you and how pleased they were that we had had that. So for me, that was, we had made a commitment, we kept that commitment, and they were pleased with the presentation and the conversation. So I just wanted,
They were very knowledgeable. They
Yeah.
were really on top of it.
so that was really great.
And Mr. Jones made a best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, and again, the passion that they displayed, was the same passion that we had when we applied to be part of this process. And I wanted the people to know that in every community outreach meeting, is that this is not about us siding with one side or the other. It's about us looking at trends and things like that. And again, we talked, and several of the committee members exchanged information. I know Mr. Jones did that as well, and I think that the connection was made that needed to be made with the right people at the right time. We did have the state's attorney, Aisha Brayboard, our state's attorney. She actually attended. She got an opportunity to stand up and say some things, which was great to have the state's attorney come to a community outreach meeting at that time. And so I think that, I don't know if she stayed for the presentation. Ms. Ridley, thank you for letting me know. But I just think it was a good event. Mr. Vice Chair had an emergency at that time, and I wasn't prepared to present. I was ready to just lay back and just kind of let Mr. Vice Chair do his thing. But I think that it went fantastically well. The communication, we weren't, even my slideshow presentation wasn't ready. We had some technical issues. And so the most important thing was the conversation, right? I think that was the most important thing. And for me, I thought at that time those slides were engaging. Like I had a couple of videos that we wanted to try to play to get that. We had a QR code that I thought was very interactive. They actually pulled out their phone, took the quiz. So some things like that, we want to make sure that it's not just a group of people talking. It's more about getting input, getting interaction. And so I just think it was great. I've heard feedback from people in the community who said that was a great idea. And I've heard Mr. Jones' name like 4 times. So, yes, sir.
I skewed the results of the test. I took it 3 times.
I saw that and I graded up.
I have a question, though. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. So one of the participants was telling us about an event with the police chief that was happening the next day.
Mhm.
Were any of us able to go there? No?
I wasn't.
I was really excited about that.
Yes, ma'am, Mrs. Ridley.
Just wanted to tell you, State's Attorney's Office, she actually had one of her attorneys, that was there, Perry.
Oh, okay.
And he stayed for the entire
did he? Wow.
event.
And this process is going to take all parties involved, the State's Attorney's Office, the citizens, and law enforcement to be on the same page. Again, the message that I wanted to convey for the board is that we are the conduit. Like, we are here to bring all of those parties together, but hold you accountable for the things that you do within the community of Prince George's County. And again, it was a great meeting. We got good feedback, and again, at that meeting, we had a person who was interested in being an AHB member. So she actually had an application with her, said, hey, look, I applied. So I was like, well, we'll take it right now. So I think that's an opportunity at that time, too, moving forward. Maybe we'll have some AHB applications. And I think on one of the slides, if I'm not mistaken, I thought we had the link where they can actually go to the page and fill it out. But we'll have QR codes moving forward. So if we have it displayed, that they'll be able to take their phone, QR code, and pull up the application. I think that'd be great. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to share some relevant feedback that we received that I thought was pretty poignant, and I thought I would challenge this board for us to be intentional about it, which was that there's probably a disproportionate population that interacts with the police and possibly has some potential issues for complaints, and that when we do our outreach, we should make sure that we hit that population the best way we can.
Yep.
So perhaps younger people, perhaps people who are men, perhaps people who live in certain neighborhoods, to inform and educate them, because I think in some regards we could get a lot of passionate people who care about this stuff, who look for this type of stuff, but we're not going to get the passive community member who's not looking for this stuff, but could be disproportionately in a situation where this would be really good information for them to know about our process.
I heard that too.
I think we should really think about young people, you know. I think we really should have an effort to try to, even if we can find organizations that serve young people or that have connections to young people, that we even just do a presentation for them. So they can
I thought about that too, yeah.
how policing works and what our function is, and
Right.
To better educate them.
And I thought about going into the school.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mr. Jones would definitely be somebody that can connect with people in the school. Not that you're young.
My whole life.
Right. And I said that because, you're energetic, you're close to that demographic. And so those are some of the things that we want to do, and that's why it's important to have diversity on these types of boards. Again, the Citizens Police Academy that the IG did a presentation on, they reached out to me recently and asked me if I would come do a block of time after the IG a couple of weeks ago, and Ms. O'Guiney, she was there. I don't think you knew that I was coming. Nobody knew. So that's why I said, let me put this thing together real quick. I thought it was an opportunity. So, and I used the exact same slide for that presentation, and it was fantastic. I mean, we knocked it out of the park. There were so many questions afterwards, that we got into so many things about policing and scenarios and things like that, that I actually showed a video of what the use of force could be, and I asked them to tell me what they thought it was. I actually showed another video of an officer being attacked and asked them what they thought that looked like. We had the QR code, we had some slides, and so it was very informative. I actually gave them some ACC bags with gifts in it and things like that. Yeah, matter of fact, I'll give everybody here an ACC bag for that. But Miss O'Guiney had a table with police accountability swag on it. And when I tell you that the people after that meeting stood in line to ask questions, get information, I mean, it was absolutely fantastic. So I think that now what the Sergeant Johnson, who puts that on, will do is that is going to be something permanent for the community. And thank you to Prince George's Police Department for reaching out, for providing some time to do that. I thought that it was great. And actually, when the IG went, he said he didn't want to steal our thunder, and just for the record, our slides were better than the IG. Kudos, but again, the message that I always convey is that as the chair, I'm just the chair, but this is the board of us, and we're extensions of the citizens. And again, Ms. O'Guiney was there. She gave me some good feedback, and transparency. I've taken the Citizens Police Academy about 6 years ago. And so I go back as an alumni to speak about my experience, what actually led me to that, and how it came full circle to me being a part of this process now. I think that they were glad to hear that. So kudos to Ms. O'Guiney for having the swag there. They liked it. So I think that moving forward, we'll do that. They have it, I believe, 3 times a year. So again, we'll be. I think you took pictures too, didn't you, Ms. O'Guiney? One of the things, she's the photographer of and so if you get an opportunity to share some of those pictures, that'd be great. Don't put me.
I put them on the server.
Don't include me in that. But and I think after my talk that I gave to the Citizens Police Academy as a citizen is why the sergeant of the Citizens Police Academy reached out to me to provide a presentation, because the chief had asked for that. So again, it went really well, and I just see this process going so well. And I've always said, and I said this recently too, that we have a phenomenal group of people with great talent and passion here, and that we can get the job done. And I told the community, the outreach people, is give us time to go through the process to make it work. That is our goal, and we will make it work. That is our goal. Because I know that there's a lot of distrust in different areas and things like that. And one of the things I think is important, and that we will do with community outreach is to bring trust back to the process. That is part of our goal. I think that I think we're really achieving that. So Attorney Camp had said that they met the people out in training, and they did you go, Mr. Jones, at the training at the conference?
Yeah.
So they really wanted to talk, and they were very passionate. And so, and again, we had told them before, we were just trying to get a lot of things going, administrative-wise, and so we met with them, and they were there on time.
Yeah.
They were there on time. So we welcome them for the next one. Any, Ms. Vice Chair, was there anybody have anything they want to say about that? All right. Oh, somebody had their hand up?
Yeah, I had a couple of things that I would like to share with the board regarding community outreach. There is a list of organizations and entities that the board can consider wanting to reach out to, and to the point that I think Mr. Melton made earlier, towards the very bottom, there's marginalized communities that we may want to reach out to. So if you guys want to, identify some entities, then staff can start reaching out to them. You can do some tabling, which is what Crystal did at the Police Accountability, or the Citizens Police Academy. And then we can piggyback off of some of the organizations that are already doing things. And also, with that being said, if you, attend an event and a staff person isn't with you, if you let us know, we're gonna put that on the event tracking sheet. And then also, if there are community members that you engage with who are interested in the work that we're doing, get their contact information, especially their email address, because I talked to the chair after, the meeting saying, can I send out, the Zoom link to some of the community members? So, as you can see, a lot of the community members that were at the community meeting, are joined us today.
Okay.
And then, this is excellent. Thank you. Lots to choose from, so.
Mr. James, put your hand up, sir.
Thank you, I appreciate that. One of the things I would say as a follow-up is we talked about scheduling additional community meetings, and similar to the Chiefs meetings, I think it's important for us to go ahead and set those dates so that we can start the planning and execution of those community meetings so that they happen. We've mentioned it. I think we need to go ahead and find some firm dates so that we can plan around those too.
Okay. So our next meeting, we can have those dates and talk about it at the next meeting.
So are we soliciting input for us to decide, or you want staff to decide?
At the next meeting, we'll talk about the date
Okay.
for that. At the next meeting, we'll put that in, and then we'll give it to the staff. We're going to do the date.
Okay. So you wanted to come with ideas about the date?
Yes, ma'am. That was it, Mr. James? Oh, you put your hand down, so you follow the rules. You do Zoom meetings way too much, I can tell. All right, oh, a hand? Oh, yes, ma'am.
You will have all the community meetings will be here, or we
No, in
will
the
go
community.
out?
Well, we really don't know yet. It depends. If it's more beneficial for that community, for us to travel to them, if it's a group of seniors and things like that, I think that's something important. And I think that it's important, Mr. Melton brought it up, those of our citizens that speak English as a second language, they may not fit, this may be a little intimidating, so sometimes we may need to go out to those groups. So it depends on the group that we're speaking to at that time, and the space as well, too.
Yeah, my thinking was, one of the public housing sites, they have their, regular resident, they call them resident council meetings. And so there's a lot of angry people there.
Okay.
But they have a space, for entertainment.
Okay. So that sounds like something that you're going to, put down on the list and leave? Yeah, I like the way people are just volunteering today. So, yeah, and again, this was the first one, so we just tried to, just put it together to have people, because we knew that there were those who did want to come meet. And again, if there's a community that doesn't fit, we'll extend the invitation if they say we have a space. It's not an issue if we travel to them. I think that will be, and particularly like Mr. Melton said, and I think Dr. Coleman has said, and myself, if we want to go to the schools, I think that's going to be something good too. We'll start doing that.
If I could.
Oh, yeah, what'd you say?
If I could.
Oh, yes, sir.
No, please.
No, I'm done.
I did want to thank staff too, even though I was unable to make it, because T&G did do a lot of legwork for us on that in the background, and all of staff. I know they worked and worried a lot, so we appreciate everything.
Yeah, y'all been killing it lately.
Yeah, y'all really.
They really are, and so it goes, I mean, I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Raise for everybody on the staff.
Do we have that authority? Oh, sorry.
They got a new title. They got a new title, the Fab Five.
So I talked about the CPA presentation. There was something else I wanted to talk about. I don't recall what it was, but we'll probably come back to it. Moving on to the next agenda item, is the training and education, the MML summer conference. Those of you that are going, if you can just take pictures, input, and if you do meet organizations or groups that want to talk with us while you guys are out there, definitely let us know. We'll try to plan something. Maybe it can be impromptu. If we will have those dates before, so maybe you guys can be equipped with those dates to invite them to those meetings. I think that would be great. And if you, make sure you take your business cards too. You got your email addresses, don't you? Yeah. And don't, take pictures, take pictures, take pictures. I think that was it that I had under announcements. There's one thing that I do want to address, if I can get everybody's attention on this, is that, recently there have been some trial boards that have taken place. It's a little concerning that the officers that received termination were not terminated. It was almost like a plea deal. They plead down, and so that is something that I think that we need to look at and address. And one of the data points I think should be that whatever the determination of the findings of the ACC, when it goes to the trial board, we want to look at that and start to track if those recommendations from the ACC are being So that's concerning. That's concerning. So I think that that should be a data point that we should look at, because we don't want the behavior to become, I'll just take it to a trial board.
Yeah.
Right? So that's really concerning, because to me that's circumventing the process. And so when the people that do the investigations and do all of the input and the deliberation, and they, according to the statewide matrix, said that based off of what you've done, you should be terminated. So when they, I'll get to your questions, I see your hand, and it's just, and so I'm just so a little upset about when you can do that, because for me, the average citizen does not get that same process, right? So, I think that it's just a little concerning, something we need to keep track of. And so if anybody can make those trial boards, I think that we should. I know that staff attends them, they send them out. I'm going to be making one. I actually had a, administrative charge committee the day that one was going on. And that is, one of the officers who was reinstated. It was terminated. Yes.
The legislation doesn't address that, does it?
No.
Oh, my God.
No.
So, can you help me understand this a little bit? The trial boards, who comprises the trial board? How is that process set up?
Administrative judge, is that right? Officer of equal rank and a citizen that we have appointed. Yes, administrative hearing board.
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought it was separate.
Yeah. So what they
So
do.
they go to the administrative hearing board, and then the ACC decision is getting overturned?
Yes.
Yeah.
But is that part of the process?
That is part of the process, right. So they do have a right to appeal. They say we do not accept the recommendations of the Administrative Charging Committee. They have the right to appeal, and they take it to a hearing board, trial board. What I'm concerned about is that this does not become practice, that if you are terminated, that you feel secure enough to say, I'm just going to take it to an appeal board, right. I'll take my rank and drop and things like that. But
are there enough times or are there any times where the AHB then has upheld the ACC's?
Oh, yes, I think so, yeah.
Okay.
But
so it sounds like the process is
Working?
sometimes working, but sometimes it's concerning. Am I hearing that right?
Correct. I'm not saying that every single one is overturned, but what I don't want, for me, what I don't want to become the norm is for, well, I'll just take a hearing board, because I have an opportunity to plead down.
Does the AHB have the authority, or can they go outside of the matrix, or go lower than the matrix, or go different than the matrix?
Yeah.
So if the matrix says the officer did this,
Right.
and that equals this
Correct.
consequence.
Yep.
Does the AHB then have the opportunity to say, well, we acknowledge that the officer did this, but we accept a lower consequence?
Yes.
Or do they have to essentially uphold or deny that the officer did that?
The short answer is yes.
But it's not addressed anywhere. It doesn't say whether they have
So
that
that's,
power,
it
right?
seems highly subjective
So,
interpretation of
counsel
what the
can't
authority
be.
is.
You want to chime in on that?
Am I understanding it right?
Yeah, they are supposed to follow the matrix, whether it's the AHB, all of them are supposed to follow the matrix, but they may have, and I haven't seen the cases, and Tangi or whomever, if y'all can make sure, I know we were getting at one point to know when they are, so that we could maybe go, but they may have a different finding that would then subject them to somewhere else on the matrix. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know.
I find you guilty, but of a lesser offense.
Or
so
something
therefore
else on the
it
matrix.
goes
I
lower
don't
on
know.
the matrix?
Or
I'm not
they can
sure.
plead,
Would it,
like you
would it
said.
then get kicked back to the ACC then?
No,
For
that's
review
it.
of
It's an
that
appeal,
lower?
it's an appellate.
Right, but what it's, I guess what I'm asking is, if the AHB determines that it's a lesser charge, do they have the authority to say it's a lesser charge? Wouldn't that then lesser charge be then reviewed by the ACC?
No.
Or the AHB, if I'm getting all my initials correct, has the authority to say, essentially, the process operated correctly, like an appellate court, process operated correctly, and the ruling is either upheld or not. In other words, it's a little bit of a gamble, but the idea of an appellate court.
I'm not talking about, I don't think, and again, I think it's probably ill-advised without having known what the ruling was at these particular AHB. But what I am saying is that there might be a situation, and this is, I don't know, where the ACC says you did A, B, C, and as the chair said, if you do A, B, C, the matrix gives you no room.
Matrix is very clear.
Very clear, but then the AHB says, no, we think you did C, D, and E, which is subject to this part of the matrix, which doesn't require, for example, termination.
Right.
Which is essentially ACC qualification.
Exactly.
So,
In a form.
But no, I don't think that it is an appellate process that is available, so that police, wait a minute, let me just get this out. It is an appellate process. You go, and if you don't like it, the police officer can then go to the AHB. Also, if the AHB agrees with the ACC, they can still go to circuit court. So they have a further, so at least, unless we're seeing something that's outside of what's allowed,
But let me ask you
that
this,
process is working the way it's
With the circuit
supposed
court,
to.
let's say it went up to the circuit court, right? The same charge was upheld by the AHB. And again, I understand this is hypothetical, and I understand we don't have an exact process. If it went up to the circuit court, does the circuit court have the authority, or would they essentially say, well, we find that this should be a lesser charge, and that they would then give a lesser charge?
They absolutely can, because it's about
They can
the
do that?
findings.
That was
Do
my
you
question.
understand? It's about the findings that dictate the matrix. But what would concern me is if they had the same finding that required termination and still said you're not terminated.
Right.
That to me
Yeah.
is very problematic, if
Right.
that's happening.
Right, and so that's what I was trying to bring up. I'll go to you, but Mr. Melton had his hand up.
That clears it up.
So I don't have an issue with an appellate process. That's the whole point, is that they can render a decision based on a judgment that they believe with the findings that says maybe someone got it wrong before us. Where I have issues with what I heard, which I might have misunderstood, was sounding like there was a plea opportunity to say, I would like to be guilty of something lesser so that I can lesser my consequence. That was what I didn't.
Well, so I don't want to say that it's a plea, maybe I misspoke with that, but they can say, well, you know what, seeing my testimony, using it as an example, I meant to say this at this time, but your testimony was something different, right? One of the issues that I had, and I see your hand and I'll go to you, one of the issues that I had in reviewing the cases is that not every law enforcement agency records the interviews, right? That's a problem for me, because they can just say, well, he said he did not do this. I need to have it documented for the record, so then at that point, you can look at not telling the truth as not telling the truth. So I think that this would be a recommendation that I've asked the ACC to forward over to the staff for us to take a look at, that we require everybody to record an interview, whether it's transcribed or whether it's videotaped. We need evidence of that, so that we can start looking at that and saying, okay, we need to hold that accountable. That's a recommendation that I think we need to make ASAP. I think that those are one of the things. So for an example, if the person did say, well, you know what, I misspoke but now you've had an opportunity to review your transcript and your statement based off the findings of the ACC, well, they found that because of this is the punishment. Now you can go back and it's like, well, you know what, I misspoke, I meant to say it this way. That's the problem. Not saying that is the main issue, but the issue we need to start looking at is that if the findings of the ACC is starting to be overturned, right? When I say overturn, meaning that there may be a lesser charge. Because I'm concerned that if the Administrative Charge Committee found evidence enough for that officer to be terminated, and he's not terminated, and if how, and I'm just using this as an example, if it is in fact found that the officer was guilty of lying, and now he gets, they don't find that, and he can stay on the force, then what good is he to, and so I think I had asked the question, does he then go on the list of officers unable to testify? So those are some of the things that we need to start to look at, when these things happen. So if we can start to look at that and get the data, so by the end of the year, I think that should be something that is included in our annual report to let the community know, because I do not want this to become the norm. If they do something that is so egregious that the Administrative Charge Committee, and to be transparent, I think that some of these things, we have no choice. The matrix is very clear. The matrix is, I understand, I know. The matrix is very clear. So if we find that something is different, I requested the ACC to let me know one of the cases that I want to follow that was so egregious that I want to know. So if that's overturned, we have a problem. We have a problem. Yes, ma'am. And then I'll go to.
No.
Most of these officers are covered by the collective bargaining agreement. So, a lot of times when they're terminated, the union comes back in and wins that case. So my question is, do we ever look at the union contract for those officers and the other procedures that we're using?
A lot of the stuff got changed when Leopold was dismantled, and then the Police Accountability Act made certain things that was part of the issue when we had the work groups, if y'all remember, because they were upset that they weren't getting the labor benefits that came through. Discipline was coming through Leopold, and they weren't getting it. So their contracts are not overruling what the police accountability requirements are.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
When the collective bargaining agreement shall kick in before the ACC process?
Because, there's certain things
specifically
that are,
written.
that they lost
The lawyer
in
is
the
from.
collective
Got
bargaining.
it.
And
Okay.
became part of the
HB 67.
HB 67.
Okay.
Does that
Parts
make
of the
sense?
law specifically eliminated.
That talks about, So remember, we could not say, y'all couldn't, tell their records, remember? And that got removed. That's an example.
Mr. Jones?
For myself, Mr. James has.
Oh, okay. Mr. James? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Sounds much like a broken record, but again, I think that we as a board have a responsibility to evaluate complaints and disciplinary outcomes. I've asked month after month for those reports, and this is just proving the fact that we should be spending our time evaluating trends in complaints and disciplinary outcomes as the legislation has mandated us. That's where our attention and time should be dedicated.
Yep. That's what I was talking about. It was Mr. Jones, and then I'll go to you.
Yeah, I'll just say, I think this is definitely something I think we should be looking at, because I think in the end, yes, the appellate process, wonderful and great, but we also need to be able to see, is the AGC consistently overcharging, or is the AHB consistently undercharging, right? Or then is it a thing of, no, AGC is accurately providing their decisions, but the AHB is consistently doing something differently. And I think, and you've already touched on it, right, by saying at the end of it's something we look at the end of the year, right, after we get masters, but I think it's very important to look at the aspects to it we should keep in mind, right? Like, are we seeing, again, overcharging or undercharging on one side, or maybe it's not a problem with that, but that's at least somewhere to start with.
And then I think maybe we can even start to review the cases, even after they've happened. We can probably go back and look at the video just to kind of find out what's going on, how the evidence was presented, and things like that. Mr. O'Neill?
Now, two questions. Now, even if they take a lesser charge, do it still go into their files?
You mean
their personnel files?
And that, I don't know. I'm not sure. That's a good question.
And number two, the conversation you just had, I think that's a talk we need to have with some legislatures about tightening the law that, that they're trying to get around us, like you said, by doing a lesser charge. You know me. That's, and so that they can introduce some bill in the next session on that, you know, on the Senate side and the House side, you know what I mean? That's the deal. I mean, to talk about how to tighten it, because we might be going through that, but we don't know, Montgomery County might be doing the same thing, or Anne Arundel County, you know, and so we need to, you know, and that may be a question you need to send out to some of those chairmen in other places.
So one of the things I think that we will do is at the end of the year, once we have enough data to compile, then we can now make a strong argument to say, we are seeing this is concerning, and then present that to the county council, and then they say legislators. Well, whatever it is, we need enough data to track that. I'm stating this to bring this to the awareness of the board. It's something that I've seen, and it's something that we need to pay attention to. And even if we go back and start watching the videos of the trials after they've been decided on, I think it would provide some good information.
Do we get copies of their report or transcript?
That's what we were asking and trying to figure out. Well, I think we can go back and look at the video. Ms. Allen?
The trial boards are run by the law enforcement agency. So if the law enforcement agency, so let's just say it's Cottage Heights, because it doesn't exist, does not report it as part of their trial board process, you're not going to be able to have a copy to go back and review.
So then there's a recommendation. There's a recommendation.
The other part is, the administrative law judge will provide their opinion 45 days after the hearing. So within 45 days, you will know.
And who gets that?
That's going to go to probably the law enforcement agency, the attorneys, and probably the administrative hearing board specialist. So that team has been hired, they're now in place, so they would get a copy. It could be something that we could request.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
The only other thing is, getting back to you, Ms. Wrigley, that is the process you're talking about, what they do. They've been directed by the union to do that.
Well,
they done looked at the law and see how we can get around it. I mean, that's what we did for people a living. That's what they did.
Well, I don't want to throw out assumptions, right? I want to go with data.
And
right?
that's
that data is going to be the findings of every single one. And so I think that it's important to let every law enforcement agency know that we're putting them on notice, that we're paying attention to this, because we don't want it to become a trend. And there's so many gray areas, and so this is why it's so important. And that's what we're getting into, starting to do now, is to look at and examine the trend for the next thing. But this is something that I thought was so important for us to keep track of and not let it fly under the radar, because citizens are going to want to know, because citizens who were affected potentially by an officer, there's trauma there. And so if you run into that officer again, there's trauma. And so that's a concern of mine as a citizen. And again, our citizens that speak English as a second language, if they're brave enough to come up and make that allegation, and then it's found that it's knocked down, who's to say that they won't be harassed by someone? These are some things that we need to look at and make sure that the citizens know that they feel safe. So again, Ms. Allen, I was just going to call your name too.
Oh, okay. And because you're talking about our citizens, these hearing boards are public. AFI is our website administrator, so we do list on our website all of the upcoming hearings. So if you go to the Police Accountability Board website, all the way at the bottom, you'll see what's upcoming. Now, they are not run by the Administrative Hearing Board or any of the staff here. It is strictly by that law enforcement agency. So let's just say it's Cottage Heights. You can call Cottage Heights. When and where is this going? Well, where is this going to be held? A lot of them do have streaming services where you can watch it live, which is what we've shared with you guys before. And then you can also go in person as well. But what we can do is talk with our partner in the Administrative Hearing Board to see what's live for you guys and go back to sending you upcoming.
Because I'm concerned if an officer was terminated for something, they get, just as an example, they lose rank, they lose money, and whatever the situation is, they're still entitled to their pension.
No, they really don't.
They're not?
No, I don't think so.
They don't get their pension if they're still on the force?
I mean, if they are terminated, they don't.
Right.
You mean if they lose rank, but still?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm saying if they terminate it altogether, they lose.
Sorry, I thought I was clear on that, so I apologize. But I'm just passionate about that because I think that it's important when I see that happen, when the findings are this, and then this happens. And I know it's an appeal process, but I think it's just something that we should be, Leslie, that we should be aware of and moving forward, pay attention to and put it high on the radar.
And, Mr. Chair, I think I brought up when I did send the, one of the AHB, I think it was under the old system, right? It wasn't under the new system. And I think I mentioned to you all, I was standing outside, and they didn't know who I was. And because they now understand the matrix, he said, okay, I know what I can get away with. And, that was that's not a comment on all police officers.
Right.
But it did take my spidey sense up a little bit because that matrix has kind of informed sometimes how people act because they know what kind of points come up. So I think we should be looking, you know, if we're seeing it come up to that line as well.
Good point, yeah. Okay, so again, I'm sorry, it was a great discussion. I think it's something that we can take away and bring back at the next meeting to discuss, and even something that we can discuss when we have our next chiefs meeting. Something that's very concerning in the community as well. So we need to understand, and again, we're great at what we do, we're passionate, we got some great minds, we caught it, so we're going to address it. So thank you. Next up, I'm following the agenda, Mrs. Spring. Last announcement, and there's a farewell of one of our board members. So at this time, I'll be making, I'm joking, I'm not going anywhere. So don't get too happy. Mr. Bergamini, it was brought to our attention, we sent out an email that you will no longer be part of the board, so.
As of June.
As of June. This is your last meeting, correct?
Yes.
So.
I'll be traveling for work shortly,
Okay.
until June.
Until, okay, right.
My term officially ends in June.
Right, so I just want to say thank you for all your dedication and hard work. You and I have worked together on the Citizens Complaint Oversight Panel, starting back in 2018. I mean, one of the things that I told Mr. Bergamini that when we were talking is that he and I have not always seen eye to eye, but it's never personal, right? We've always maintained the relationship where we can talk about him teaching me how to play poker, things like that, and things that are going on in each other's life. And so that's one of the things that I will miss about you is that your insight and that you're passionate and you do not waver. So I appreciate that.
You still
Well, you know, just take the kind words, because I can go the other route. But no, I just want to say thank you for your service, and again, I worked with you on the CCOP, and saw how committed you were back then, and so I know.
those are kind words.
Yeah, you will definitely be missed. Your thoughts and your ideas, and even your M&Ms, right?
Don't go there.
So at this time, we'll give you the floor. We'll let you say anything that you. Oh, okay. I'll give the floor to Attorney Camp.
I'm sorry. I just also wanted to say we've been on CCOP and this, and always appreciate your passion on any of the issues, but also I think what you brought that seemed a little unique to me is your national, international perspective. And so when there were things going on elsewhere, you shared that with the board. And I think it is always useful and helpful to have a perspective that goes beyond Prince George's County or Maryland. And I want to say thank you for that.
He's not dying.
Mine was very,
Okay, I just wanted to say it. Anyone else want to tell Danny get out? Goodbye? No. So Danny, you have the floor, sir.
I'll just say thank you very much. I appreciate it. I've enjoyed the time. It's not for any other reason than I have some work requirements that are increasing quite a bit over the next year. And I think it wouldn't be fair to essentially take a leave of absence for that time when another citizen could be at the board here and contribute. So thank you all. I've enjoyed it. Stay in touch. You have my email and my phone number, so I'm not going anywhere. I'm still living here.
Great. Yeah, you cannot leave the county, so that's the main thing.
So it's okay to travel. Can we give you a clap? Is that okay?
Absolutely. So, just for the record, you don't have to leave to get applause. Right? So I want that to become the norm. But if that was the case, we need to applaud the staff for the work that they've done consistently. None of them are leaving either. So, with that being said, that is all that I have. Mr. Vice Chair, did you have anything? Any other board member have anything? Oh, there's a handout.
I just wanted to let you know that, one of the attendees did have a comment.
Oh, okay, okay.
If you had time.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. So there was someone who wanted to have a comment. We'll give you a minute to come off of mute and go ahead and make your comment and identify yourself, please. We're having technical difficulties? No?
We have those new safeguards in.
Ah, okay.
There's some comments in the chat.
That was not talking earlier.
Well, we pay attention
Which
to
one?
everything.
Which one is it? McKinney or somebody?
We can't hear you.
No.
Can you hear me?
McKinney?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it worked. As soon as I typed in still not allowed, it worked. Good evening, everybody. How you doing?
Good evening.
Thank you.
Good. So I came to the community meeting a couple of weeks ago and I met some of you. Mr. Duvall, this is the young lady from Hogo Boxing.
Oh, how you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing
You're my new
well.
best friend, is that what you're saying?
Well, we'll see. We'll work with it. But I appreciate you guys' time and effort in this board, and I'm glad that you have some of the same concerns that I have. And I'm looking forward to supporting you the best way that we can as a community. I also wanted to confirm that the Police Athletic League is going to do their very first attempt to having a boxing show. So Hogo Boxing will be showing them how to do that. And I'm hoping that you would have representation there to pass out information to the community. It's going to be held June the 8th at Division 3 Police Station.
Okay.
1 p.m. That's a Saturday. And I'll make sure once the sanction has been put in for insurance coverage and all of that, but as soon as the corporal that's working on this project, as soon as they get a flyer, I'll be sure to email it to the group. Okay.
Okay. Is that the event that Mr. Melton agreed to box to somebody? We put him on the box.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, and thank you for attending the meeting. And I know that you told us you're going to be on it, but again, the process is us representing you. So thank you for holding us accountable. And we'll make sure that we have some members to participate in that. Like I said, me and Mr. Melton, we love boxing, so we'll definitely be there.
Well, good.
No. So we need
I'll
Mr. Melton.
also send you, try to send you a link because Channel 9 did a segment on us where the police chief was able to get us a generous donation, and we were able to donate about 16 pairs of shoes to some boxers that are training that their parents could not afford to get for them. So that's a nice clip that they did. And I know WJLA Channel 7 will be doing a segment on that event as well. They just haven't released it yet. So I'm looking forward to you guys coming to some of our events and sharing information to the community about your organization.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again for that. And if you can get that flyer out to us, we'll make sure that we let you know who'll come, and we'll use you as our point of contact if that's okay.
I sure will. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you. There's the best part for Mrs. Spring.
It is, but before we adjourn,
Yes, ma'am.
quickly, I just want to make sure for the changes for the subcommittee.
Okay.
We're doing a week,
Yes.
so everybody has a week to submit your questions, feedback to Dr. Coleman and Mr. Melton.
Yes.
Because I don't want to come back and let's do it again.
I told you she doesn't
All right.
play.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Motion. We got, that makes me feel, why y'all ready to leave so? Motion made to adjourn by Mrs. Springs, seconded by Mrs. Bryant. Sorry, Mrs. Ridley. All in favor?
Can we discuss the motion? No.
No, you didn't. Okay. Motion to adjourn, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
Any abstaining? Again, all right, thank you. Meeting adjourned at 8:21 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. No, let me tell you something. You are so funny.